9th, 2024. The time is 7 p.m. Opening prayer. Jake, you
could all stand. And of course, I pray for unity and pray for direction during this meeting, but I think I would like to share this evening a first responders prayer. We had a fire today, and we also had a police officer involved shooting a couple weeks back. So if we may pray. Lord, I ask you through St. Michael the Archangel to watch over all of the men and women who so generously devote themselves to helping others. Grant them courage when afraid, wisdom when they must make quick decisions, strength when weary, and compassion in all their work. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liam, would you please call the roll?
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member Owens?
Here.
Member Placement?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Orr? Here. 7 present.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve as presented the minutes from the November 25th, 2024 City Council, November 2024 Finance Report, and Chapter 155 Personnel Regulations.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Liam, could you read the preamble for the first portion of Public Speaks?
At this time, members of the public who have signed up to address City Council will be called to do so. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes. Speakers shall be called in the order they signed up. During this section, comments shall be limited to legislative items appearing on this meeting's agenda. The rules for speaking and the speaker's time will appear on the screen. After you have finished speaking, please remain at the podium to answer questions from officials at the dais. This will serve as the final warning for all speakers. Any violation of the rules will result in ejection from the premises.
Okay. The only speaker of the first portion is Matt Rohrbaugh.
Matt Rohrbaugh, 217 Hallam Street, Southwest, North Canton. All right, I didn't put my notes down like I wanted to, so I'll try to keep this organized. I came here about item 8C under new business, discussion of street levy renewal replacement funding options for consolidated fire station from last week's meeting. So a few things about it. First off, I was on the focus group that was helped to decide what was going on the ballot this past November. I was not picked. I personally went up to Mr. Orr as soon as that meeting was over, before he even knew what was going on about the group, and said, I want to be your volunteer. We had 3 meetings. We went through the 3 options, similar to what Mr. Young presented to you last week, little different numbers, and everything came down based on what had happened with issue 7, the income tax. We decided that the property tax was the best option. Also, that was based on the fact that, so last year, November 6th, Mr. DiOrio dropped a bomb on all of you standing right here. Literally watched 7 chins hit the table when he, out of nowhere, talking about a master plan, talked about removing reciprocity. The next week, you had a rather large vocal meeting, November 13th, in the larger room. About the reciprocity in general, which affects approximately 5,000 people, less than 10% of which were there, even though it was quite vocal. Then, at the end of that meeting, Mrs. Warren said, we heard you, I think it's important you get a vote on what you decide. Shortly after, when it was tabled, Mr. Stroya said, you know it's a fair compromise. The beauty about this doesn't matter what the 7 of us think up here. It's up to you. It's going to be on the ballot box. It's an example of direct democracy, so it's in your hands, meaning the people. The next week, November 20th, Mr. Stroya once again said, in my opinion, this takes what we heard last week. It gives the voters, every single vote in the ballot box has a decision to vote yes or no on this. So we put it in the hands of the people, and I think that's exactly what you asked for last week. That seems to be what the comments that we're getting, and I think to us, we've responded to it. So therefore, come March, you put issue 7 on the ballot for an income tax increase of 0.5% with full reciprocity left. The majority of this, we heard a lot of times about, no?
Quarter.
Hmm?
I mean, a quarter.
No, it was 0.5% to get
No,
to
but
2%.
but we put reciprocity, like a quarter.
You left the full reciprocity. Full reciprocity with 0.5% tax increase to make it a 2% tax. Many people then stated that was fair because everybody going up 0.5%. But at the same time, you still had the reciprocity people paying nothing to the city. And I do understand it sucks to pay double, but they were not paying anything to the city. Now, that got voted down. You put 2 other things on the ballot. They've been voted down. And I'm very for the fire department. I was never against it, even when going against 7. Oh, we're out of time. So last week, without less than 30 days since the 2 levies were defeated, not much of a cooling period, you all started talking about voting increases again and using vote, vote, vote. The 7 of you have been looked at a lot by the city, the public, about things going on. And one thing you talked about, and it was immediately shut down, was Mr. Young's option 3, was just cutting off 0.5% of reciprocity, which only gave us $900,000. And it was immediately $100,000 short. Mr. Stroya said, no, we're not digging a hole. That was to get the fire station going. So I just had an idea, I'm just one person, but if you go based on basically the math from Mr. Young, if you want to cut it right in half, reciprocity people still get half of their credit at 0.75%, and you go 0.75% of that they paid into the city. That, talking to Mr. Young, would be 1.4 million. That would cover the fire station and keep us at least at the same level of the streets, which was defeated. And don't mention the word vote for at least a year to cool it off, because you said you wanted the people to have their say. The people told you 3 times no. If you immediately go back saying, let's go vote on something, they're gonna look at the 7 of you like you're not listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. I mean, that's,
Oh, did anybody have any?
I'll start. That's definitely an option. You know, I think what we need to make clear is these 2 items we're talking about, right now, we're just trying to get what the cost is, the millage and what that's gonna produce. I don't think anybody's made a decision on when it's gonna go on or if it's gonna go on at this point.
No, and I understand either way it's a sore subject.
Right. But we've got to get the math. We've got to get the millage.
The 7 of you have to make, sometimes you have to make tough decisions, tougher than others that you don't want to make.
Absolutely, but I'm not gonna make any decision without getting the accurate math.
Right.
And
Well, I get that.
that's
No, I
what this
completely get it.
this
It's just a
does.
suggestion.
Yep, no, I
That way
appreciate
it
that.
covers what you're looking for, gets them the fire station going,
Yep.
gets the streets still taken care of, not the level we were hoping for, but it still has money for the streets, and you're not having the people look at you like, what part of no to a vote did
Right.
you get?
Yep.
And I can appreciate the no vote, I certainly get it, I know people are struggling, I absolutely get it. Just because there was a no vote at the ballot does not mean that that need no longer exists. I think you're up here saying just the exact thing, so we're here just trying to, at least in my mind, formulate ideas, formulate a path forward, because the need definitely still does exist for our firefighters, and the need will exist with our roads.
No, I ran out of time, but I absolutely say that, you know, give it a year or so, build a strong case for a tax increase. That unlike where it was just issue 7 was just for the fire department, and then maybe we'll get a pool, maybe we'll get parks, maybe this, that you more clear definition of what you want to do with it and how it will also help the growth of the future of the city, because we're long overdue for an income tax. But right now, I think if you go back to voting again in May or March or whenever, the people are going to, less than 6 months after they turn down those levies, the people are just going to look at you and say, they just keep trying to get voting, we keep saying no, so. Just a thought.
Well, and I think to that point, I'm not ready with what we heard too from people to put it on the backs of one group of people. And 5,000 people is a lot of people.
I
To
understand.
add what'd you say, 0.75% to, that's a lot of money.
But-
And I think I was talking to another councilwoman today, and we were both like, it was just kind of, it was a strange election to put maybe too many things on for us, but I think there was also a big sentiment like, no more taxes. So I would not, at this point, say, well, this group is now gonna fund that, and we have different perspectives on reciprocity, but I already believe that that group is paying their fair share, and we are receiving a lot of money on the other side from individuals who are working in our city, and they are not paying, and that's why the system was set up. Canton loses a ton of money also by having other people work in other areas. So
Right.
A lot of workplaces
You
do.
made that same comment last week, and Mr. Stroya said that one of the cities around here
It was
does not
Brexville.
give a full 100%.
Right, but a lot do. So we can look, I can get you all the information
I'm
you
not
need.
trying to just go after us, but I'm trying to find a way that appeases the people the most, because I think the vote thing right now, they're
I
kind of
know.
burn out on the vote. I know the reciprocity part stinks, but I also have people tell me the comments of, well, I pay my fair share in property taxes. Yeah, you pay that for your goods, but I'm paying the full 1.5% of income and the full share of property, so, and I get it, it stinks that, the inside out and how it's all set up, it never should have been maybe between the cities with the double taxing. But
Yeah.
that's what it is, and that's.
We're getting a lot of
unfortunately,
money.
that's the way it works,
Yeah, like we said, we get a lot of money from that on our side.
Right, but
So
that's
it does
what-
benefit
but
us.
you've got 20,000 people that are paying here that they can no say, and you wanna up the tax on them, get them to pay more, while you still have 5,000 people not paying, that maybe might end up paying 0.5%. If you give an accident. So those 20,000 people, they could easily choose to go work somewhere else. And then there's widows of 20,000 people. How much did Diebold sell the 1.5% for them to move here from Hudson? To where Diebold, how stuck are they there to not say, oh, you know what, you're raising your income tax, we'll move our headquarters again somewhere that we're out of Jackson, we don't have to pay income tax. Then you got that big hole. So different little things to think about. Biggest thing,
Yeah.
I use the term, some people don't like it, think outside the box.
Yeah, I think we've tried.
Nothing's gonna make everybody happy.
No. But at this point, I'm not willing to put it on one group of people.
I know you aren't.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to old business. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 67, 2024?
An ordinance amending Chapter 1136, Main Street Districts Regulations, specifically Section 1136.05, Schedule of Permitted Uses of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, in order to allow hotels as a conditional use in Main Street Center districts.
Okay, ordinance and rules.
Well, this is the third reading. I don't think anything's been added or changed from that. So, any questions on that? It's pretty self-explanatory. I'll make a motion to move the ordinance, or pass the ordinance.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 68, 2024?
An ordinance amending Chapter 1136.12, Food and Beverage Pickup Standards, specifically subsections 1136.12A, Drive-Through Standards, and 1136.12B, Drive-Up Window Standards, of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, in order to allow drive-through facilities in Main Street districts to have 2 drive-through lanes and 2 menu boards.
All right, John?
Again, this is the third reading, nothing's been added. We've had a couple newer businesses move in that have the 2 drive-throughs, and some of the older ones do too, so this will make it a lot easier for any other businesses to move into the Main Street district. So I make a motion, we pass this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to new business. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 3-2025?
An ordinance amending ordinance 87-2024 titled An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor of the City of North Canton to enter into a contract for professional auction services for the sale of vehicles and equipment that are obsolete or unfit for public use or not needed for municipal purposes and declaring the same to be an emergency. To add an additional vehicle that is obsolete or unfit for public use or not needed for municipal purposes to the professional auction services contract and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, we're just adding another vehicle to the sale. Any questions? I motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance 03-2025.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings.
So moved.
We need a second.
Second, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'm going to make a motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance 03-2025 under suspension of the rules.
First reading.
Oh, sorry. Yes, first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liam, would you please read the title of ordinance 05-2025?
An ordinance accepting a .13 acre tract of land from the North Canton City School District along the south side of Charlotte Street Northwest between Hillcrest Avenue and Ream Avenue, located in the city of North Canton, Ohio, and dedicating the same as a road right-of-way.
Okay, street and alley. Melissa.
Yeah, Liam, do you want to talk about this one?
So, as I mentioned last week during the committee meeting, as a part of the Charlotte Street widening project, the school agreed to give a small tract of land that runs alongside their property to the city for us to basically maintain that road that was widened. So this is just shoring that up with the agreement.
Any questions? Or?
Nope.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt the first reading of 05-2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna have a discussion of the street level renewal replacement and funding options, and Ben will lead this discussion.
So I have one new item for you all. Last week, a scenario I had not previously calculated was proposed, which was to increase the income tax by 0.5 percentage point and release the city's 3 renewing property tax levies, sort of on the back end of that. So what you have at your seats for you is a calculation sheet of how that would work out. So I'm going to start sort of in the bottom right-hand corner of your sheet, which it says annual estimated municipal revenues. And so this just sort of shows that if we did go for that income tax option, we would break out essentially even to where we are or would be with the proposed property tax issue. So about $34,000 less, but that's essentially even. But the real question is, what does that mean for the average household? So that's sort of the left side of your paper here. And so we have 5 representative households for you. So household number 1 is the median household. So it has as census measured median income and as county valued median home value based on the new valuations, not the old valuation. And so for 7.3 mils of property tax, a median home value of $220,000 would pay $562. That same median household, bringing in $69,000, if we were to increase income tax by 0.5 percentage point, would pay just $345, meaning that that household per year would see a savings of $217 annually. Similarly, household 2 is an above median household income, $120,000 in income and $350,000 in value. They would save $294 a year. Household 3 is our below median, so $40,000 income, $150,000 home. They would save $183 a year. Household 4, we have 2 retirees who are, in this model, only receiving Social Security. So that gets them to an income of $42,800, but because it's Social Security, it is income tax exempt at the local level. So they really will pay nothing in a new income tax. But they, for 7.3 mils of property tax, they would pay $562. So that's a $562 savings annually for a senior household, if that were to switch. The 5th box is just the break-even point for reference. So for every $100,000 your home is worth, you break even at $51,000 in income. So if you have a $200,000 house, your break-even point is $102,000 a year. So what all of this together kind of means is that if council did go for a 0.5% income tax increase and was willing to commit to releasing all 3 renewing levies, most households in the city would actually save money and get more for that money because they get to do fire safety. Before Councilmember Matheny gets to ask me, I'm going to preemptively answer the question he asked me earlier today, which is how do we avoid double dipping, so to speak? So obviously these levies have set expiration dates. An income tax would have a set start date. And that comes down to we would have to calendar out when to release the levies in order to not be collecting both taxes at the same time. So let's say the income tax were to take effect January 1, 2026. That means we will collect that income tax in 27. So we would release the fire operating levies for tax. The last year would be tax year 25, collect in 26. Then in 27, we start collecting the income tax and stop collecting the property. So essentially that levy would expire 1 year early.
Did that answer your question?
That
was on
was
your
perfect.
mind?
I thought it was important that the residents understand that
Yeah.
there's going to be a double dip of taxes in an overlap year. And that's what's important, is to make sure that one ends when the other one starts.
We think it's important that we heard people say, like, you know, they're struggling. And they need help, and this is a way
Right.
to save money. This is saving on your taxes.
I like the
We've
savings on the real estate taxes. I think that overall, real estate taxes are overtaxed
Yeah.
in a lot of different areas. And it still maintains the 1.5% reciprocity that we currently have.
1.5, correct.
Ben, do you have other entities that are using this? Have you seen any other groups using something like this? Models?
You mean that have
Like other
partial
cities that are-
reciprocity credits?
No, the way you did
Less,
this.
like, we'll use the list.
Where we release
Most cities
levies.
do. Most cities don't have property taxes unless you have a proper, like a parks levy or something. Most cities stay off the ballot on the property tax issues and they collect the income tax at a full rate that their community supports.
And that's because we're artificially low on our income tax.
That's what we talked about last week,
Yeah.
but we don't have to keep
Yeah.
going back and going back, and the income tax rises with the economy.
Right.
Yes.
But through the years, we've kept the income tax the same, but nothing else has stayed the same. The labor that we pay our workers hasn't stayed the same, the cost of the products and supplies hasn't stayed the same. The money we bring in has stayed the same.
And our
Well,
costs-
everybody sees it. I mean, they go to a store,
That's
they go to the
what's
gas
happening.
station, they
Yep.
buy a car.
That's what I think the community can't reconcile, is things aren't the way they used to
No.
be. The pool is not in the pristine shape it was, 25, 30 years ago. Things cost more, but we're still bringing in the same as we did. If you had the same income, you made the same income, but then, you added 3 kids, you bought a big house and 2 new cars, you have more expenses,
Well,
you have the same income.
the roads are a perfect example, and I don't know if you have the ability to quickly pull that up, Liam, and if you don't, then forgive me. I mean, how much more, we've almost doubled our cost for asphalt, so the mile, like 10 years ago is like, half of what it is now. I mean, it's unreal. And I don't see the costs going down anytime soon. I mean, maybe they stay the same, maybe they continue to rise.
And this would release us from the road levy.
It would enable council to stop asking for
Yeah.
the roads, for the fire, for the EMS, for general operating.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
Real quick, he just pulled this up. So again, this is a perfect way of looking. So cost per mile for asphalt in 2018, $113,000 a mile. 2023, $210,000, so that's almost double.
And we've shown this slide many
Yep,
times.
oh, I know, it's a powerful slide. So, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Dave.
no, that's okay. On the levy side of it, it's a 5-year levy. It's the same dollar amount collected for 5 years. Expenses in year 1 Every year those go up, cost of doing roads go up every year, yet on a 5-year renewal levy, we're collecting the same amount all 5 years. Not the same amount not the same, the same dollar amount spread out amongst the same people that have been contributing.
What's the dollar amount again, if we were to renew the existing 1 mil street levy at the new valuation?
The existing 1 mil. So
Correct.
what is 1
Would
mil
stay
worth
at the
now, is
same-
what you're asking?
Yeah,
650-ish, 650,000.
gotcha.
So how this is different than issue 7 was, that was asking for an increase in income tax, but there was no commitment to end these levies.
Right.
You would have to have a solid commitment from council that these levies would not continue, would go away.
What you're showing here in this projection is that the street levy with the income tax version would bring in $354,000. Is that the idea? That seems like a lot less than what we were saying we would need in that street fund.
It is essentially what you're making right now today. But it has better potential for long-term growth.
I mean, that's this 388,000, which is like, that's what we would have now, right? The 388. We were saying that's the, we'll pave your road every 50 years
Right.
version.
But-
So that, we still get that in this, we actually get a little less than that in this model. I'm not saying that makes it wrong, I just want to bring that to the attention.
Well, and
And
that's a good point, because we already are running an underfunded fire operating levy. Or, combined fire EMS, we're 1.1 million in the hole for that. So we're using old numbers instead of what the future numbers would be. I think if we're going to use this type of model, we need to get the projections on what it will actually cost, not what we're paying now. My fear is, will this stuff be able to keep up with our increases and Rita's increases? So for example, let's say all these millages are redone and it's X number per year, and Rita only grows at 4% annually. In 2 years, are we gonna be able to cover that need or not? That's, to me, the math's real close there. I don't know that you can have all of that come off and recover it if we're gonna fund our departments correctly.
I mean, the issue with the fire department and the 1.1 is only really an issue because we have said we don't intend to fund that department out of income tax, we intend to fund it out of this levy. And so we have that debate if the levy is underfunded, not necessarily because we can't afford to pay the income tax, I mean, we just balanced the budget and are still paying that income tax, but because the argument is sort of, why do we have this levy if it's not paying for the whole thing? But if we've made the policy choice that that department is going to be funded out of income tax, which, for the record, I will say is a more stable policy choice, because if those levies ever fail, we'll be in a world of trouble, then it's not really an issue anymore that, we're putting another $1 million towards the fire station, because, towards the fire department, not the fire station, because, of course we are, they're funded out of the income tax bucket. And as I said, that makes it more stable, that we don't have to keep asking every 5 years, can we still have a fire department?
I agree, I think it makes it more stable, but I just want to make sure that the income is there. And I don't think we're using the right numbers in those projections. That's my only comment on that. I would say, if we had streets or something on property tax that had something consistent, something earmarked for it, I think the numbers might work there, but I'm hesitant to believe that the actual numbers of need are going to come from that 2% income tax. The longevity, that's what I consider. What if we have a 10% decrease in Rita rolls?
what if the property tax levy fails?
That's another, right.
You're always
That's-
gonna have some sort of.
I agree,
existential
but let's not
breakdown.
dig ourselves a hole to begin with.
Right.
Let's get the right numbers, and that's part of what we're doing. We're requesting the correct numbers in the legislation that's gonna be on there. I think that's step one. But, and I appreciate the work on this, I just, I want the updated numbers in this, we've had this conversation.
If you wanted to raise enough for all of this plus another million, you would probably need a 0.75% income tax.
That's about what my math came up with, but it's just on estimates. I want actual numbers, and we'll get that. But
They're always gonna be.
Right, because I get what you're saying on future costs, but also remember, this is on, the income tax that would be coming in is based on what we have now, and, Diebold's growing, there's a lot more jobs, we have the potential, that bank that's coming in,
there's always
could be a lot
potential, I
more in
agree,
that as
yeah,
well.
I agree. But,
So I
I
don't think you
mean,
can
we're
pre-tax
conservative,
people.
we always, we're very conservative. That's what I love about Gina's, her expectations and her forecasts are conservative. That's a good thing. I don't want to be basing numbers off something that's not guaranteed, and it's something that is close to not guaranteed. That's my only concern about it. I think it's a great idea. To get the community to buy into this, it's gonna take some time. This is a drastic change in our community. We all know our community. It's old school. There's a lot of explaining, there's a lot of education that will need to take place for this. But I think it's got great potential.
I think
It can
if we,
save seniors a
I was
lot
gonna
of
say,
money.
let's look at
But-
the seniors alone, if you
Yeah.
focus
Yeah.
on your saving
I
money.
mean, is the message that challenging?
That's
Where-
the message right
Right,
there.
Yeah,
Who's saying no to that?
right,
vote for tax increase, pay less in taxes.
right,
I mean,
right.
Right.
uh-huh,
I mean, it's not that challenging.
no.
And I guess, Matt, I guess I don't mind the numbers that are there. I don't want to estimate for that what-if dreary day. That's not our job.
We don't even have the numbers to estimate that, is my point.
But we wouldn't put those, we have the numbers right now of what we need.
Right.
Right.
But
So
they're
this will-
underfunded.
But like he said, are they underfunded if you start looking at it at those different pots? As we saw when we were budgeting the budget, we were moving different things to make it
Sure.
budgeted.
We need to cut a lot out of this budget.
I think what we're trying to show too, for the public, is a tax relief.
Yeah.
And I believe we've listened, and we've gone through several challenges over the last few years of maintaining the levy. But, based on the last election, and we had almost half the community wanting a fire station. And we are only down about 233 votes.
Why would we vote for something?
And
You know what I mean?
it's not easy to always plan for the future, but I think that the 0.5% income tax would be beneficial for us over the next 10 years, maybe 15 years. It allows us to address this issue that we have right now, because I know we face challenges every day, and some are more complicated than others, but we can fairly, I think, address this one in a straightforward manner, and I think that was our approach right now. And again, the solution may not be the easiest one, but I think it's one that is, I feel comfortable with. And I feel very strongly about supporting going this way to provide tax relief to our taxpayers, but also promote the safety forces that we have and the city services that we have over time. And I understand the difference in opinion. And I think of this quote sometimes: we don't know where we're going until we know where we've been. So I think I know where we've been, and now I think we're trying to, I think what Dave brings up, about the double standards, moving beyond that, and what you've brought, Matthew and Steph and Melissa, everybody here, Jamie. I think if we don't, we can accomplish anything if we stick to it. And I'm not trying to say that I disregard what the voters are saying, but there are some things that I feel very vested in. And we went back to the drawing board again, and I think this is a proposal to be considered to a point of a resolution that would have to come from City Council eventually, that will retire the tax levies in due time, as I think has been instructed us. But I think that this is clearly possible, that City Council and administration stands behind and for our community to promote the values that the public embraces, and that is the city services that we provide. And I know that 52 years we've been at 1.5%, and I hope that the community, when people ask me, what is it about North Canton? I said, it's about the people. And I feel that our community is a community where, we care for each other, and we care for one another. And again, I think we're handling this situation straightforward, and the discussion that you had tonight is beneficial to me. But at this point, I feel very strongly about going forward, as it was introduced a while ago, and it was, discussed, and it wasn't going to go forward, but a 0.5% increase, and still allow the 1.5%. What's the word am I looking for?
Reciprocity.
Yes, reciprocity. Of all words, I should forget, right? Okay, a moment of levity. But I feel good about this, and I think the numbers are fairly straightforward, but I'm not sure what else you might be looking for, Matthew. I just don't know. How do we project for anything in the future?
President Stroya, my question for clarity on those numbers, when you say fire and EMS is funded by 1.1 million, is that under the assumption that fire and EMS should be funded completely by property tax?
That was the shortfall of the property tax levy. Yes.
So that 1.1 would have to come from property tax increase to fund fire and EMS completely?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The other thing that factors into that part of the math problem is that this fire station is part of a bigger effort of operational efficiency that we underwent with the fire department itself. And part of the story of the fire department is there is cost savings in a consolidated fire station that better suits the needs, like not having to pay extra for special vehicles and being able to buy less equipment. And we do have cost savings in that plan, so even if our levy for fire we perceive as underfunded now, we do have cost savings in that consolidated plan. So does that wash out when we realize that,
That's what we need to figure out.
I think
yeah.
it probably does.
It might.
Well, I think there's also cost savings in not continually putting levies on the ballot.
Yeah.
I mean, having attorneys draft them, paying whatever our percentage is of, to the elections commissioner, whoever we pay it to, even having them on there, all of the staff time that goes into that. So that's a savings that, would be realized too, that we may not be considering. And I think we did hear the voters, and Matt, I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know if it's vote fatigue or is it tax fatigue, right? I think it's tax. I think it's we don't want to pay more, so this option allows the voters to pay less and still accomplish maintaining the services that we have and providing for our fire personnel what they need. So I said this last time, I say this all the time, it's the marketing campaign, it's the how do we get it out there. There will have to be, an active PAC, there will have to be fundraising, there will have to be all of those things. There will have to be door to door, there will have to be talking to these people. And, once we can convince, some, they can talk to their neighbors and they can share the information, but it's getting the story out. But I don't think it's gonna take a year to get the story out. I think we have the story, we just need to get it out.
Just for real quick, for clarity's sake, does this provide enough money for the a new fire station? Okay, okay.
This is saving money and
That's what I
getting a
thought.
fire station.
And,
That's
but,
the people have to
but
hear.
the only thing that will suffer
Oh,
are
I
streets.
see it.
That one, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
they'll stay as is.
Well,
Yeah.
not really. It's a little bit less money for our streets, and cost of materials and labor will go up. That's one thing we do know.
We also know that the voters just voted down streets.
Right.
And we may not even have the amount that we currently have
Right.
going forward,
Yeah,
so.
if we stop and do nothing now, to your point, we'll have nothing.
Yeah.
I understand, John.
Yeah. That,
Yeah, something else too on the cost savings, we do have, if we're fortunate to go forward with a consolidated, fire and EMS building, we also have projections of selling the property of the fire station now, which is a considerable 6 figures
right.
from what we've talked about. I hope too that as we move into the primaries, in May, hopefully the apathy maybe that surrounded this election, and we heard from the voters about budgeting, and you've all have contributed to that tremendously for us to, again, budget what we should be budgeting for, and that was very obvious from your conversations, and we've taken those steps to, tighten up our budget for the end of this year and going into 2026, even to probably 2027. And so I think we've tried to answer that question for the public, that we are responsible stewards. I know homes are on budgets too, and that, and this would allow us, again, relieving tax levies that we don't have to go to the voters for. And again, everything that surrounds it, as Melissa mentioned. Again, as today's point, there will be no double taxation. And I think that this one was is fairly straightforward, and it will carry us for now and into the future. It's a tough decision to make, and yes, I hope the public will understand where we're going with this, but I'm hoping that the apathy that maybe surrounded this election and other things at the national, state levels, and that drifted down to our I'm not going to say polarization of our of our communities, of our nation, but I just feel very strongly that this solution is a good one to go forward with. Stephanie?
I like the clarity that it brings too, that it's simple, it's easy to follow. I love that we're not going back, like Christina said. And I think, I think you were talking about the marketing. And remember we were talking earlier about, okay, people's property taxes are gonna go up, but people don't realize, if the city doesn't get it, we're never gonna be able to explain that to people. And this is just so easy. This is where this falls, this is where the schools fall, and it increases with time, just like everything else you pay.
But
And I like that.
it's a great plan, okay? But we have about 30 days to get out to our constituents.
No, we would have it till May to get the
It goes
plan.
on May, but we have, we have to.
Well, we have the 4 months or 5 months to market it.
Okay.
I know,
I see,
I know.
Well,
That's a
John,
very short timeline.
I understand, but that's the
But I like saving money.
responsibility that we have taken on.
Exactly.
We have a responsibility to take action.
But I completely understand.
Decision-making, so I understand. I'm not trying to chastise.
No,
Yeah,
if we're given, a plan like you've given us, it's up to us 7 to go out to the voters.
And engage others.
Yeah, and other
community
community members.
people,
We
and
have
have
to
people
talk
be
the talk.
champions for it. We've got to do something. I mean, John, I
Right.
hear you saying about the streets, right?
Well,
But
that's
this
just one
saves money
concern.
and builds a new fire station. We can't just have good streets. Is that what we're gonna be, just
Well,
North Canton? We
if-
have good streets.
Right,
That's all
but
we
if we
have.
would ask, and I'm for a new fire station, okay?
Yeah.
But if you ask our people what they would want, what do you think they're gonna answer?
well, the streets failed worse than
I
the
want the fire
fire.
department
Yeah.
to come to my house.
And our streets
My
are
house.
still
Well,
really
right.
good.
Our streets are
They're
still
gonna find a
good.
way to get there.
Comparatively, I mean, I had someone called me the other day, coming back when it snowed, and they said, thank
Ours
you,
were the
North Canton
best.
streets.
Still are.
We can tell the difference.
Right.
It's our street, it's our crew.
It's
hard to-
yes,
it's the
and I
people
know-
that work for us.
Yeah,
You know.
costs are going up, we know that, but, I mean, we gotta give somewhere. We can't have everything.
Well,
We can't,
We
we don't have it.
At 2 1/4, that's what we're saying, is it going up, we're not gonna go that high.
Right.
It's a tough ask,
It-
but I think it's a
But the
fair one.
message is
But-
it's saving money.
But
seniors-
you're saving, and then we get all these benefits, and we're eliminating that constant ask.
Yeah, but what happens, what is our backup plan? What happens if it fails?
What we have.
Waiting for that.
And we stay with what we have.
We stay with what we
stay
have.
What we have, we will
Right
lose the
now.
road levy, it'll fall off, and,
Yeah.
yeah,
The consequences start
and
coming.
no new fire station.
Right.
Consequences are coming whether you try or not.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's exactly right.
And like we said, 2% is pretty common. Everybody
Oh.
can ask around to friends and neighbors that live in all the surrounding communities.
Yeah.
And lower than some. It's not that far out.
I don't think it's that big of an ask at all.
No,
Communities
no.
all around us that they're paying more, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and I've had friends say, when they're looking at a house, if a house is available, you know, in the market, when there were houses, they would say, well, then we have this tax, then we have this tax we have to look at, and this, and they're like, we're just going here, it's way simpler.
Yeah,
But
So Matt, what numbers do you need them? Well, what-
Yeah, whatever.
What I believe President Stroy is asking is if we reached for another million, which to be clear, we don't collect now, but if we reached for another million in addition, that would get us to roughly 2.25% income tax, and that would functionally wipe out your savings.
I'm not asking that. What I'm asking for is for us to understand what the millages are going to be like in the future instead of now. So by asking for the numbers, you know, if we reach out to the county and get the new established numbers, that will help. But
You mean like like asking for, well, we asked for what, 1.9 mil,
yeah,
right? And I've talked to a few other people, and that was, they said I really took a manageable risk on that, in promoting that. And I don't want to go to a 1.5 or 1.6, because now we're underfunding, you know.
that's my point.
Yeah.
We have a history of underfunding levies. I don't want to underfund
I don't know.
our entire operation by not getting the correct numbers and the future numbers.
That's why I thought the 0.5%
Yeah.
increase would.
So are you asking if 3 years from now we renew this EMS levy, what is 3.3 mils worth
Right.
3 years from now?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can tell you that.
We can get a closer estimate than, I mean,
Well, but I
Than
mean,
what
like,
we have.
we just had a reappraisal for 30%. In 3 years, we're gonna have another reappraisal.
Yeah.
Nobody,
It could go
even
down.
the county auditor doesn't know what it.
that's,
No.
I agree, but we could know 2 years from now, 2.5 years from now.
But
It's just a guess,
What-
though. Like, no one would have estimated that it's gonna be up
It's
30%.
all a guess, that's my point. I want to be as close to this as possible. If we know that we underfund our levies, let's not project that we're gonna underfund our levies and bring it into our tax projections. Let's try to get the correct numbers and throw them all in there to see what it is. I mean, we just went through how many millions of dollars of budget cuts? I don't want to keep doing that. I mean, that's tough, but it's hard to project the increase of RETA and what the actual costs of stuff are. I mean, it's not easy.
If we were to renew the 3.3 mils next year, that would more than double what they're bringing in right now. That would be 4.29 million. Both, right now on 4.8 mils, we're only collecting 2.2 mils, so. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't think we would be chasing the full 3.3 mils
Okay.
in 3 years, because that would be an incredible monetary increase over what our current ask is.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking a large increase per $100,000 in value, right?
we have.
It would be the
Yeah.
same per 100,000, but
Oh.
because of the
Property taxes have
1/3
increased.
increase, there's so many more 100,000
Gotcha.
to be taxed.
You're right. I guess my point is it's more per household.
Yes,
significantly?
it is gonna be more for us.
Significantly, yeah.
I'm a part-time employee, but I'll still pay income tax because it's earned, okay? But also, just as an example, but I really feel that this provides tax relief, which maybe is an unknown word anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that we're providing some type of tax relief for our citizens and still be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And we might take a little hit on the roads there, John, but we have a great engineer, and that is Rob Graham.
Oh, right.
And that man can find avenues to help us, you know, do the best we can for caring for our roads. I have confidence in that. And again, whether it's
Even the levy for the
grants
roads have
and
been
things,
underfunded for years.
you know, out there for us. And we look for other revenue sources to help us with our roads and things like that. But
I know it's a short time frame, like you said, but think about it, what he just said. It's a tax break and builds a fire station. Only lost by 250 votes. They want a fire station, only
Yeah.
250 didn't.
Right.
The majority did, and the
And they wanna
majority
save money.
are getting a great savings here, especially the seniors in our community, which we know we have a large percentage of seniors.
It's
This is
definitely
not going to affect-
it's definitely tax relief for people on fixed income. There's no dispute on that.
We heard that, that's us
Yeah.
saying, we heard that, and we're providing the tax break and building the much-needed fire station that they know they need, we need, they need. And then the cost savings, like what Melissa brought and Christina brought up. We're gonna have operational cost savings and not having the two stations. We pointed that all out before on what that consolidation cost savings looks like.
What's the timeline on when we have to have this part of it in? On a tax increase?
February 5th is the Board of Elections deadline.
To Mr. Young's
3
point,
months to sell
when he
it.
talks about properties and property values, that's the unknown for the population. So when your property taxes go up, and how much your taxes are gonna go up, those are all
Yeah.
unknowns until that tax bill shows up.
Very true.
If you're budgeting for your income tax, it's budgeted with every paycheck. And I think that's a little easier to understand
That's a
than
good point.
than the property tax being the unknown.
Yes.
And what that new levy is going to be, and what that new ask is going to be, what that new renewal dollar amount is going to be. I think that we faced an unusual challenge with property taxes going up 30%. The perception was that all property taxes, I think in some people's mind, was going to go up 30%. And to vote in a new tax, and it could go up 30% immediately, I think there was a lot of unknowns there. And I think an income tax is a known.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And to that point on property tax, you know, we heard it with the schools, many levies that they passed that affected property tax, and then again, property tax. This was again, and they were like, I can't do it
Can't do it.
anymore. And while we love the new schools, and we're glad, you know, they do increase our value of our homes to have great schools, it was a lot, and then here we came out with another property tax. And maybe that's another message that you say, is this isn't a property tax, we're not asking for a property tax.
Let's pass along some relief in the property tax.
Yeah, relief.
Is there a way,
Yep, yep.
oh, maybe, I think I'm looking too deep into it. Like under household one, household two, household three, and household four, we give a percentage, can you give us a percentage, how many people, how many residents of North Canton fall under this? How many fall under that?
The census does not, because of federal laws on anonymity, does not get that specific. What I can tell you is the median, so that's 69,
Right.
statistically,
Is,
90% of people are gonna be within 2 standard deviations of that 69,000. And that, I'm getting real into statistics, sorry, let me backtrack.
College here, geez.
we've tried to do a little bit of an analytical study.
right,
50% of people make more than that 69, and 50% make less.
okay.
That's
And
the
then like
simplest
for
way of-
retirees,
69.
we're looking about what, 13% of our population is retirees?
24, 20 something.
But again, you can't really tell what their household incomes
Right.
are. Some may have some earned income, others may be purely retirement income. So it's kind of a hard one to.
John, I don't have the statistics right on my head, but when you look at the fire and EMS responses, from the ages of 60 to 90.
Wow, it's unbelievable.
It's well over half. Mr. Dillon, am I right? It's well over half of the calls are in that age group. I get the stats every month, and I
Probably
think
half
it's
of
almost
those are-
60% sometimes. And a lot of our people in that age group rely on the
Right.
services that we provide for EMS runs.
And, you know, the
We can't give the
services.
statistics, but you can get out and talk. You know, you talk to your people and you individually say, you know, when you talk to their
Right.
personal situations, we're both, you know, retirees, we're both pension, and then you can see how that affects them.
You know, I've always tried to operate under the decisions we make are for the greater good of our community. I know that may sound trite, but that's what I still believe in all the time, that the decisions we make here, that you all help us make, is for the betterment of our community. And I think Mr. Rohrbart said it, you know, we're not going to please everybody all the time, and maybe his comments, and we probably said that too. But we've come a long way. This has been quite a journey to get to this point where I think this 0.5% pass is a fair, straightforward way to try to move our city along and keep us appreciative of the services that we've been able to provide for residents, visitors, businesses, educational communities.
The models help sell it, for sure. I mean, that's more relatable when you can bring in things like that. I would like to do a deeper dive on the math this week on it. Okay, so let's back into the timeline again of this for income tax. If we were to push this forward, what does it look like on the council calendar again for this? Because it was a little bit different on when we were asking for property. So
if we went for this income tax, we could get 3 readings in. If we did reading 1 next week, and you guys return and you have committee and council that first week back, then just committee the next week. But if you added a council on the 3rd, February 3rd, you could get 3 readings in.
okay.
And by state law, it's already an emergency because ballot measures are
Right.
always
Yeah,
emergency.
yeah, okay.
I think too, just what I like about this is, it's that combo approach that we were looking for. We wanted to raise it to 2% for a while, and you're still gonna have those that get Rush Price, they are still gonna be paying that extra 0.5%. So they're gonna be paying a little bit more, but that was the compromise that we had agreed upon before. And I think that people were willing to do, but I like that is including everybody
Yeah, the
and getting
increase.
so much done.
Well, one of the biggest complaints was for people with fixed income, it was unaffordable. The need of the fire station was not in dispute after all the education that was going on.
Right.
That was one of the last things, you know, you've heard very, very few people saying, oh, you don't need that. That's become very apparent, and that's, you know, to everybody's credit, for Ben and everybody, for administration and the fire department and everybody, having all the public meetings, all that education. We are going to need the same amount of education on these scenarios, on all this and how it is spelled out from where it was property tax, now it goes to income tax. These models are gonna have to be burned in people's minds for us to get the support. My only concern is I don't know that we have enough time to do that, but we can still talk about it.
So to get that, 12/16 would be the first reading, 1/27 would be the second meeting, and then we'd have to add that council meeting on the 3rd, correct?
If we want 3 readings.
If we want 3 readings. Do we have to have 3 readings, or it could be emergency?
Should have 3 readings.
Already an emergency, it's
Yeah.
We have the time.
whether or not you want 3 readings.
We've got the
We have
time
the
to do it,
time.
why not have the 3 readings?
I don't want to cut out any
No.
readings for
Time.
something like this. We
Right.
need to give the public the opportunity to share their input.
And if we start it next week, we can still change and amend and keep talking, but at least it gets the process starting.
Yep, agreed.
We were chatting over here, and Ben, being the technical genius that he is, I said, could you do a little calculator? You know, when you go to buy a house and you go online and do a mortgage calculator, and you're like, I want to buy a $200,000 house and I want to put this much down, but then you go, oh, maybe I'll buy the $250,000, this much down, and it calculates it. If we could create something like that where everybody could put in their own individual situation, like $90,000 and a house is worth $200,000, and you know, what it is, what it was, what it will be. People could see it personal to themselves.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's a
nice.
great idea.
Yeah.
Social media, because we can only have so many meetings, and we can only be there to say come, but they don't come, so we have to push out. We can be
Yeah.
available, but everybody's busy. Sometimes hard to come in and have the meetings. Let's have
And-
tools available.
And if they'll do that, right, like, so, but for those that won't, I mean, the message is very simple. You will save money and we will have this.
Yes.
Vote for an increase, pay less in taxes.
Yeah. And bonus, you get a firehouse.
Yes.
So,
Very creative. We're looking at.
we want to put this on for a reading next week? I mean, is that the motion we want to put it, well, we just.
Motion.
Looking for a motion, or?
Yeah. Yeah, are you looking for a motion?
So I'm just trying to think of how we're gonna phrase that, because next week is not committee, is it?
Next week's council. I don't think you need a motion. We can just suspend the rules requiring a committee report next week.
Okay, so it would just be under new business next week? Okay, all right. Fine with that.
So 12/16.
This kind of serves as it would be, well,
Yeah.
we've had this discussion before too, so I
Sure.
mean,
For like 3
it
years.
originated, well, yeah, absolutely.
Been
Okay,
that long?
all right, well.
Longer, Jamie.
In the meantime, Robert, you're sitting back there, and we asked you to, you know, let the public that we know we want to hear from them. If you could do that again, that would be appreciated, because we really would like to hear from the public.
Absolutely.
If you want to save money.
Yep. So, we can advocate either way, but it
Right.
sure would be nice to hear some voices. So, all right, so there's no decision we need to make for this. Everybody done? That I don't want to cut anybody off. Are we good? Any other comments over there? Anyone? All right. Okay, so we're gonna go to the second part of the recognition of the public. Liam, if you could read the preamble.
At this time, members of the public who have signed up to address City Council will be called to do so. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes. Speakers shall be called in the order they signed up. During this section, comments shall be limited to items reasonably under the city's authority. The rules for speaking and the speaker's time will appear on the screen. After you have finished speaking, please remain at the podium to answer questions from officials of the day. This will serve as the final warning for all speakers. Any violation of the rules will result in ejection from the premises.
All right, we have 2 speakers signed up for the second part. The first one is Pat Patterson.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Name is Pat Patterson, 1754th Street, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. I had some comments and thoughts all prepared, and I thought in light of this morning's events, it would be, in my mind, inappropriate to share them, so I just wanted to give some thoughts about the fire department. And thankfully, nobody was hurt this morning at Norcan Radio and TV, or Norcan TV and Appliance, excuse me. Dating myself, if anybody else, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, thankfully, nobody was hurt in the situation. And definitely want to say, tip my hat to Greentown, Plain, Jackson for the assistance that they lended to during the event. And thanks also to the police department for their quick action as well. This goes to prove we do need a fire station. I mean, the fire station, we've used the term conversationally, I've heard it in council meetings and whatnot about shiny new things. And I don't believe for a minute that the fire station is a shiny new thing. My parents are still residents. I'm a taxpayer working in Conrad's up in the north end, but my parents are still residents. And they're, I don't want to say long in the tooth because they're probably watching. My dad's gonna be 84 next month, my mom is 76, and definitely their care obviously is prime. As is, you know, just anybody who needs the help. On the open house, I toured the facility, and you stand in the bay for 5 minutes, and you can see the need for a new facility. I mean, nobody said a word to me. I just looked around and it's like, holy cow, locker area, holy cow, this, holy cow, that. 5 minutes, non-resident, and I see the need. So, I have some thoughts I'll share in the future, getting into that. But I want to shift gears a little bit to just go to a little bit of a lighter note, talk about Winterfest. I don't know if everybody got to go or not. I know at least a couple were there. And it was a really, really good time. I was grateful for the opportunity to participate. I'm glad it's open to whoever. I mean, I'm obviously a non-resident. I came down, I participate in a lot of things. But Matt and I were talking about, offline, we were talking about Macedonia. Saturday night had a very similar event. And Matt, do you remember what the first thing on the
On the,
on the invitation?
oh, was it to Macedonia residents only?
Nordonia
Or
residents
Nordonia,
only.
yeah.
So it was only open to residents of Macedonia, Northfield Village, Northfield Center, and Sagamore. And you had to prove, you had to show an ID that you were from one of those, or else you can't celebrate Christmas with us. That's a load of hooey. That's probably the most animated I'll ever get addressing council. But that just, I texted Matt and I said, dude, look at this. And we just were both in disbelief. There are reasons for it, but I think Christmas is like a very inappropriate time for picking and choosing something like that. Shifting back to the positive side of it, Heritage Society had a little pregame at the Heritage Society. And of course, we talked about the puppet show afterwards at Zion. So it was really a whole day event for the community, and it was really, really cool. And it was a really great time to fellowship with friends in the community, other community members. I talked to several people. I got to meet Ben officially for the first time. That was really cool. Of course, Matt and I hung out. You know, Jamie and I kind of saw each other in passing, more or less. But of course, spent some time with John, and Chief kept making some jokes about me. Oh my, but a great time, thanks to the library for that. And with that, I'm prepared to be grilled.
Thanks for
That'll do it.
I appreciate it, appreciate the comments.
He says you really are gonna grill.
Anybody else?
No.
No, good. Thank you, Pat, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you, appreciate the opportunity.
Next up, we've got Joe Malkin.
Joseph Mulqueen, 1016 Park Avenue, Northeast, North Canton, 44720. On the morning of Friday, January 12th, 2024, as I was doing my business at Chase Bank, I noticed that there was a library employee smoking, which we all know the library is a smoke-free property. So when I saw this incident happen, I went down to the police department to try and report this crime. And sadly, Frank Kemp Jr. gave me a hard time reporting this crime, so I called the Stark County Sheriff's Office, said, hey, you know, fortunately, I had to deal with the chief, and he's giving me a hard time about reporting this incident, and luckily, they got me to somebody who got me the phone number for the state of Ohio has the smoking infraction phone number, and that phone number is 866-559-6446, and I, made the report with report number 1040672 to the Smoke-Free Enforcement Agency. And as a former cigarette smoker, I never had the thought process that lighting up a cigarette in the library was a good idea. And I don't think anybody who smokes cigarettes is less than anybody else who does, and anybody who doesn't smoke cigarettes is better than who does. But the biggest issue going forward with this is that the employee obviously had the thought process to do this because they knew they would get away with this because they think they're above the law because where they work, who they know, and what they know. And we have to have a zero tolerance policy on this type of thought and on this type of behavior. And with this report number, I would like to cordially invite Mike DeWine to come down and hand the fine, whatever the fine may be, to the North Canton Library in the city of North Canton so that future Ohioans know we will have a zero tolerance policy going forward on those who violate that statute, that is smoke-free enforcement. And secondly, what brings me here is I'd like to see the city of North Canton put their foot down and fine the Maple Street Commerce to the maximum possibility fine that couldn't be fined and put those funds towards the new fire and EMS station. Because it's sad that you guys wasted a lot of taxpayer money destroying Dogwood Skate Park that could have went to the new fire and EMS station. And, hopefully you guys can apologize to the community for wasting that taxpayer money that could have easily went to our new fire station. And I don't know what the figure is, but maybe David Matheny, who's the skate park is in his ward, can give us that figure at the next council meeting. I also want to let the men and women of this council and the mayor know that I'm a proud lifetime card holder of the Suffolk County Police Superior Officers Association. Thanks to my uncle, Sergeant Richard Daughtry, badge number 1276. And I have been raised in a hard-working New York family that respects police officers, and those values have been instilled on my family since the days of Teddy Roosevelt when he was police commissioner in New York City and made sure those departments were squeaky clean. And I do not wish for this police department to fail. I wish them to succeed, especially when those crimes of the bank robbery happened at Citizens One. And I hope we have the right training and resources available to these officers when these crimes come, that they can do whatever needs to be done to apprehend these criminals. I do not wish for any police officer to be shot like that officer who was, getting that person who was in here in the state of Ohio from West Virginia on murder charges and other horrible things. But the thing is that, it's hard to have respect for someone as a man and as the chief of police when he fails to take down this report because he knows maybe Internal Affairs is going to have a field day when they find out about this. But that's up to them. But if anyone needs to report any illegal smoking infractions, once again, the phone number is 866-559-6446. But I've seen the same library employee go outside before the library opens, light up after I do my business at Chase Bank. I don't know why it's still going on, but it's the thought behind it is that she knows somebody and, she obviously thinks she's above the law. Nobody is above the law, And the third thing that brings me here today is I'm glad to see that Stephen B. Wilder, you're present with us. Can you promise and guarantee to us, we the people, the taxpayers, that there are no illegal immigrants living in the city of North Canton? Because unfortunately you weren't here last week when I asked that question.
Thank you. Comments, questions for Joseph?
I'm curious, where was the person smoking at the library?
Right in front of the library, those, the doors that open up, right at the entrance. She was right out there by the entrance, plain as day. Plain as day, lighting up.
And so this was a library employee, right?
Yes,
And was this before they opened, you said?
before the library opened.
So maybe this would be something that the library would handle with their employees instead of,
Right, Ohio's a right to work
Filing.
state, and this is one of the,
It's a what, I'm
violations
sorry?
of Ohio's a right to work state,
You're
right?
correct, yes.
It's a right to work, right to fire, and obviously smoking on somewhere you're not supposed to smoke is, grounds for termination, should have been grounds for termination, during that day, I
And
tried
so
to make
that-
some police
and
reports
so
on
that
it so
would-
they could get the
so
video
hold on,
footage of all
hold,
this.
settle down, sit down.
And maybe we have it on badge camera with my interaction with Frank Kemp Jr.
So that would be, in my mind, I'm not a lawyer, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once, but I believe that that would be a civil infraction. I don't know why you would think that Chief Kemp would get involved, so I would suggest you complain to the library and not to
Well,
Chief Kemp,
why
and not
wouldn't he give
disparage
me
our
this
police
phone number? Why would
department.
another officer of the police department at the Stark County Sheriff's Office at a dispatch and gave me this phone number? Obviously, the officers on duty have this phone number. Why did he fail to give me that phone number when he could have simply said, this is a civil thing, you have to call this phone number to make the report?
Yep.
But he did not do that.
We got the phone number
You
now
got it.
then, so.
Was the employee like 39 feet from the door?
She was right by the entrance door,
Was she
right on the
39
grounds.
feet?
She was right on that
Was she
entrance.
39 feet?
What?
Was she 39 feet?
Are you joking? Are you saying the joke? Was she 39 feet tall?
No, you have to be 39 feet from the entrance.
I don't have a tape measure with me on January 12th, 2024, but maybe the video footage that's probably been discarded by now would have proved that.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Jesse. Okay, moving on to department reports. Let's start with Mayor Walter.
Yeah, President, if you don't mind, can I go last tonight?
Sure, last of the departments or last overall?
Last overall, after you, so you're
Sure.
not last this time.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Don't let me forget though.
Wait a second,
That's a long
wait.
ways away.
That is an ask, is there a time limit? if he
That's-
gets last?
no, it's not.
Right.
Just kidding, man.
Don't go
He's
there.
our mayor. He's good. He's a good man. Let's go with Kathy.
Thank you, President Stroya. I will just report that we have signed the contract with the management of Arrowhead with the DePietros. It's the current management. So it started December 1st, and they're doing a contract with us again to continue managing the golf course and the event center. They also will be managing this building here, the Civic Center. So, we talked about before, we're hoping to bring in more revenue. We've set up a structure where, they'll still be able to, people will be able to book and reserve online through our current reservation system. And, but there will be more presence here. There will be an event coordinator. They will handle everything as far as it won't just be, the way it was before, we essentially gave them the keys to our building and said, have a nice party. And then we showed up later and, we saw what happened. So now we will have, they'll have security here if it's alcohol events. They will, have a coordinator here and, kind of to check them, when they're coming in and then check things out with them to make sure things look as good as when they started. And we just signed the contract December 1st and they already booked an event. So, it's today, the 9th, so 8 days and they already have an event booked. So we've heard a lot of people with a lot of events that want to come back here, weddings especially. It's a beautiful, facility. So that and it just, the farmer's market too. The last one is next week.
Tomorrow.
This week. This week. I'm still in last
Not
week.
tomorrow,
So
2 days.
2 days from now on Wednesday. It will be under the current farmer's market management group. It will be the final, but there will be, so if you hear this from anybody, about worried about not having a farmer market, there will be a farmer's market here in the spring. We're just gonna take off January, February, March, and, around April or May, I'm not sure exactly, but we'll get it out. It'll still be here, probably around the same time. We may adjust it. We've also heard that it was a little bit early. People couldn't get off work and get there, so it might be a little later. But being that the contract with North Canton Golf that is managing this, they will run the farmer's market. So, only other shout out I want to give is to our water treatment plant recently underwent a Homeland Security audit, and they passed with flying colors. They actually said, wow, it was really hard to get into your facility. Believe it or not, when they do show up to some, maybe smaller places, they're able to walk right in, be inside the facility, say hi to a few people, and then finally say hi. Let's talk about your security measures. So if anyone knows, we're a gated facility. We have multiple, measures of making sure that our facility stays very safe because, unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, terrorist attacks can take out things like, our most vulnerable resource, our water treatment, so
Mhm.
they did a very good job, so kudos to them, that's all I have.
The contract, was that for 3 or 5 years?
That's a 3-year contract.
3-year contract.
Excellent. Ben?
No report.
All right, let's go with Gina.
I have no report, I just wanted to highlight from the monthly report, in case you didn't see it, our income tax is up 4% over this year and last year. We'll finish the year next month and report that in January.
All right, excellent. Liam?
Nothing major, just wanted to give a quick shout out to our fall interns, Jacob O'Connor and Jonah Moore. They both finished up last week. They helped me out immensely this past semester, especially with digitizing old records. So I had made the bet with them when they first started that if they could get us up to date on our digital database of all of our ordinances, that I would take them to the dinner of their choosing. They got us from, I want to say, it was about the 70s or 80s clear up to present day.
Wow.
And that's hand typing all of the titles of every ordinance into a database. So they got that done between the two of them, and they took me up on my offer and ran up my tab at a local restaurant.
Awesome.
Very
But
nice.
I can't thank them enough, and I'm excited for our next intern to start in the spring semester once we interview them.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, let's move on to council reports. Jamie?
I don't have anything major. I just want to say that I had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time at Winterfest, not as much as I'd like because we had something going on with the family unfortunately out of town, but what a wonderful event. So big thank you to the library and all those that put it on and the vendors that were there. It was just an absolutely great event. So then the pictures that the mayor shared before the meeting, those are just wonderful. So fantastic event. Thank you very much. That's all I had to share this evening.
Thank you, Jamie. David?
Okay, as chairperson of Personnel and Safety, it goes without saying to all of our first responders, thank you. Thank you for everything you do every day. We appreciate you. That is all.
All right, thank you. Let's go with Melissa.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Dave a little bit and thank the members of the North Canton Fire Department who are here at our meeting this evening. We appreciate all of the effort that you put into all the community education, open houses, and being a part of that effort, and we are still committed to seeing that to fruition. So just at least on my behalf, I can tell you I'm still committed to everything that we've talked about, and I appreciate your ongoing support as we continue in that right direction.
All right, thank you. John?
My same thoughts as Melissa. Thank you, all first responders. We really appreciate it. I want to thank everyone who came to the meeting tonight. We meet most every Monday, so come out and see us. Liam, you did a great job at the Winterfest.
Thank you.
He had all those balloons on. Mayor, you did a great job. It was a great event, as most events are in the city. But no report. Thanks.
That's kind of a report.
Oh, fine.
That's all right, Stephanie.
Liam, I didn't see you through the balloons. I kept looking. Yeah, I know. Thank you to Christina and her team. It's not easy to put on a community event like that and to have the support of different organizations along with the library as the main collaborator. It just, again, and you kind of mentioned it, it's open to all. And I think that's really neat with Stark County. I've never seen an event that anybody has in Stark County where you have to show a badge or ID and there's no garage doors going down on our area. So very, very, very cool. Thank you for the communication from the city today about the issue this morning and the way it was handled. And I was going to the Y and just saw the road was blocked and the communication and what was happening, and then opening that road and knowing that everybody was okay. It certainly is great to get that out because speculation happens and then rumors. And I was listening to a few women as they walked out of the Y this morning and they had seen and were already like, well, I think everybody's okay and it looks like everybody's fine. And they said, well, they sent me a notice this morning, and it was funny because they acted like they personally received this notice. And that was really neat, though. And maybe that's what we can do for the levy. Appreciate the levy conversation.
I will say,
The income
credit
tax.
on that. Chief Kemp knew that I come in at 7:30 in the morning and came and found me so that I could start our Facebook post before our staff arrived. And then Randy Freyas, who used to be in our dispatch center and helps run the dispatch center, kept feeding me things all day long to keep updating our Facebook posts. So credit to them for helping us make that communication.
Well, and the other thing you did is showed the collaboration, because you said, I think Jackson was called and Plain was called, and I love seeing that. I love seeing that people are ready and willing to come and help each other, and in any situation. And I know we would do the same, but to name them, I thought was really neat too, just to show how we're all working together. And I appreciate the income tax conversation. I like that you're thinking differently, and yet at the same time thinking what other communities are doing to get additional funds. Like Melissa said, we are committed to the fire station and to the fire personnel, and we know what an important project this is. So we're going to keep trying to forge ahead. And just one last comment. I attended Kirk Schuring's memorial service that they had, not at the State House, but here in town. And it was so neat to, I guess, be in line with so many different people. And you saw so many different connections in that line and the people that he helped. And one thing that Kirk did is he made sure he stayed connected and to the community. He was one of those people where he was always thanking, like us, for doing our service, yet he was there at the State House and at the state level, always working to make our community better. And the other thing he always did was he always got back to people. And that's a lost art. And whether you called or texted Kurt, he would make sure within really 24 hours he would get back to you. And the other neat thing, and you will appreciate this, is I was in line and my dad was a JC, and a lot of the JCs all supported him and talked about how that was his beginning and what really gave him a start. And he said the number of JCs that came through that line and were sharing back in the day JC stories was so significant, and just an amazing community member, and he'll be missed.
Yep, for sure. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Yep. Christina?
No report. I echo everything that everyone's already said. I'm not going to make you listen to me say it again.
I'm not going to not give a report, so thank you all for coming. I'll start with the Winterfest because I feel like, again, you knocked it out of the park, and I say that every year.
I know.
And it just keeps getting better and better and better. So, I mean, it's amazing. I ran into a couple friends that had been there for the first time, and they were blown away by it. So, congratulations.
The city does a lot too. I mean, the city definitely, teams were there, staff was there, Danielle knows what's going on, can answer all the questions, responds to my texts. So I don't mean to interrupt your report, but
Nope,
yeah, the library takes the lead for sure, and you know, a lot of expense in personnel and everything, but the city certainly is a partner in it.
Yep. That was awesome. Well done by everybody. And again, I don't want to be repetitive, but thank you, first responders, everybody in the communication that was done today. You know, sometimes, like, you know, I can think a long time ago where the collaboration of the communication wasn't that on point, and you would get phone calls asking what's going on the 400 block, what is it, and the communication, the road closing, everything was so updated, and the community appreciates that for sure. That's all I've got. Mayor, you.
Thank you for your next 10 minutes.
Thanks your time.
We're gonna set the stopwatch.
Yes, again, kudos again to our North Canton Winterfest. Thanks again for the North Canton Public Library and CSB Bank for being the lead on this, and the many pop-up market vendors that we had, and also the participants, and even the puppet show down there at Zion Church of Christ right there on Main Street. I estimated about 2,000 people being there, and I appreciate the Barker family doing the lighting, tree lighting, and from some of the pictures that I saw, the young boy and Chloe and Zoe, I think the other one, their mouths just dropped when they flipped the switch and that lights go on. They said, oh, you know, it happened. I just want to thank again Deputy Director of Administration Ben Young for in August and September, October, November, and finally tonight, Ben made himself available to introduce what's happening in North Canton. And residents are free to come in for that first hour before council on those selected Mondays to talk about that they might be interested. So I want to thank you for coordinating that, Ben, and always having that. We have a couple openings for new businesses. You may have seen Seven Brew Coffee already open, but we're doing an official grand opening and ribbon cutting at 10 o'clock at Seven Brew Coffee up on North Main Street in the Meyer Plaza. And also, we're doing a grand opening for urgent care.
Kind of a
reopening, that's what it is.
They
What
were
were the
called
dates on those?
Hometown Healthcare, and they're next to
Oh, okay.
Chipotle, and then they became Well Now, they're going back to Hometown Healthcare, same urgent care.
And that one's gonna be this week also, but Summer Brew is on the 13th. And that's pretty cool. And again, I appreciate the discussion tonight on the street levy renewal and funding options for the consolidated fire and EMS building and fire station. I appreciate that conversation, and let's keep it going and go forward for that. And I appreciate the communication that was afforded to me from Chief Kemp this morning, and as the preliminary reports came out about the fire at North Kent TV and Appliance and the operations there, it's good to know that none of our employees were hurt, and that fire was contained, and now the investigation continues as to the cause. And I think that is it for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate the public coming forward and sharing their thoughts and concerns with us tonight.
Still have 6 minutes left.
Thank you. I yield them to next week.
He's gonna bank them for next.
Fair enough. Final call for new business? Okay, seeing none. The next meeting and the final meeting of the year will be December 16th, next Monday. And I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?